It's September 27th, 2015. I'm Dana Durnford, also known as nuclearproctologist.org. And you can find my videos and Fukushima presentations at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. And it's Sunday night. We say hi to everybody. Atom Yar, Shanikin, which is Elaine, and Fix It, who's been really sick for many months. And I never did get around to mention you in the last two videos, unfortunately. And you gotta realize I get lost. Standing Foot, and Ellie, and Mickey made it tonight. And Mickey's been really sick. Sunday night. And so we're streaming anyway, and we got audio, so that's a good thing. And Stormy Cloud, and everybody likes my desk, my studio. And if you don't like my studio, well, what I can do is I'll change the studio. We'll try something else. I don't really want to look at Ken and Jay anyway. But speaking of Ken and Jay, we can just look at the E equals MC squared. It got no bananas in that. I don't know why. Or potato chips or walking in the sunshine in E equals MC squared. I checked. It's not there. Now, Ken Buechler, we're going to talk about the ocean tonight. And this is an extraordinary... Hi, Candace. This is an extraordinary night. Extraordinarily informative video on Fukushima's radioactive releases into the Pacific Ocean. And also how it fell out of the jet streams into the Pacific Ocean. How it fell out of the environment. And how it's reliberated from the Pacific Ocean back into the environment. How it washes down from your mountains down to the coastline. Hey Zoe, play drums later. And so Ken Buechler and Jay Cullen have been testing the ocean, and it's called Our Radioactive Ocean. Now if you notice there, it says this video is unlisted. I think it says B what? I haven't got my glasses on. Be careful or something, and think twice before sharing. Wait now, isn't that what he wants to do, is share it? And so I had a hell of a time finding that video. I had to go to their site. Ew! And I got a shower after, so I feel okay. Ken Buechler's site. And Jay Collins. Now, during that, they play video. And as the video is above that, Our Radioactive Ocean sampling demo, it's unlisted. So trying to find it is going to be really hard. Going to their site, you're not going to find it. You got to go to their website and find a link to it. And I'll try to remember to put the link in below. Here they are.
Thank you for helping us track the spread of Fukushima radiation across the Pacific. If you're collecting from your favorite beach, all we do is take that plastic cubitainer into the water with you, submerge it until it fills up with water. Leave a little airspace or you pour out some later. We just ask you try not to get any sediment or seaweed inside of it, so go out deep enough so you get a clean sample. You take the time.
So he doesn't want you to get any kelp in a container. Wait a second. Whoa, what? Now, 40,000 becquerels of iodine 131 in a single bed of kelp off Southern California on March the 30th, 2012. You don't suppose that got something to do with why they don't want kelp? And why they're not testing marine life or the phytoplankton or the krill or anything like that. Instead, they're just testing water. They don't want nothing in there. Anything that can gather up radiation in the water. And so that's extraordinarily suspect. But that doesn't stop there, because they'll tell you there's 1,000 times more natural radiation in the ocean than there is man-made radiation. And in that same video, he'll use his Geiger counter on the water sample and say, see, you can't get potassium-40 on the Geiger counter. But then he says, it's really hard to separate the potassium-40 because there's 1,000 times more of that than there is of the radioactive isotope that they're looking for. They're looking for cesium, but there's 100 times more strontium-90. And, there was 31 times more iodine-129 with a 15 million year half-life. So why weren't they looking for that? Let me lay that over here so it doesn't make too many rattling noises. Yes, you did. Standing Foot says, loves all of us. And That's what the Dana and the Hounds of Fukushima are all about. It's about trying to have a debate and a conversation without people telling you not to put the kelp in there, because how can that be a bad thing? Shouldn't they have a crowdfunding for everybody to send kelp from the entire coastline to these guys? But you can't trust them because they tell you it's like a banana. They tell you it's like walking in the sunshine. Ken Buechler in Vancouver several weeks ago told the people sitting there that he probably got, it's 100,000 times more radiation on the plane flight coming there than you would get from Fukushima. Jay Collins says a pack of cigarettes is much more dangerous than any radiation from Japan. But a single atom from Japan will cause a cancer. Now, let's back up a little ways and talk about some of these things on the Pacific Ocean. So 40 million becquerels, and just let me touch base on that one more time, because I know I get a tendency to not cover the stuff right in front of me. And that's why I put it there, is to cover it. That's why I always got to go back. But I do cover it. 40 million becquerels. Well, 50 becquerels, which is atomic decays, is an evacuation zone. And so what is 40 million becquerels, I wonder? Is that not an emergency? Is that not catastrophic? Is that not utterly unimaginable that can gather up on your shoreline? Now, because it all washes down from the mountains, everything on the west side of the Rockies go down the Pacific Ocean coastline, and everything on the east side of the Rocky Mountains would go towards the Atlantic and the Gulf, yeah? And so it's always coming out of those reactors. And so let's get back to basics for everybody. This is Unit 1. It's a 100% meltdown. Melt through, melt out. And that's the graphs of the heat signatures of all the reactors alongside of it. This is number 2. It's been in the media for the last couple of days heavily. Miss Melky got a couple of videos up there. 100% lost of the inventory of its fuel. And you don't have to really put your imagination together for number 3. You can kind of work out there's nothing there anymore. You don't have to be a genius to figure that one out. And they're counting on that. Now, this went up into your environment. And then a lot of it, because the ocean is huge. I mean, land is only 30% of the Earth. The rest is the ocean. But every day, tens of thousands of miles of rain is liberated from the ocean through convection and evaporation, or through evaporation into the environment. And that rains out, and that gets up into the stratosphere. Now, anything gets in the stratosphere, just a single plume, would take like 10 years to rain out. And a gram produces more atoms than every grain of sand on every beach on the planet. So a gram can give you the model you're looking at above me, because that's only including the cesium-137, just a tiny release from Unit 1. But they didn't include, right? All he told you about was this unit here, Unit 1. They never told you about the Unit 2 in those models. They definitely never told you about the MOX fuel, which is 2 million times worse. 2 million times worse. The mixed oxide fuel in this one than any other reactor on this planet. Hi, Starlight. And so back again to the Unit 3 is not in that model. Then there's Unit 4. Now, Unit 4, they told you they took the spent fuel pool and they showed you a picture of that fuel pool there. But they didn't show you in that context where it's up against the building they claim it was in. And so they were lying to you. They had made that up. That was their cover story. And what they done was they built a shelter straight up, or what they call a support network, and they were going to put a crane in the top of that. Now these buildings don't touch each other because this building is extraordinarily fragile. And so what they done was the media all came out. They didn't show you this kind of context. So they said that spent fuel pool on the corner was inside of this building here. They tore all the roof, the top stories off of where the fuel pool was too. And then they said the inside of it, the roof of it, this is RT. But CBS was in there. Seth Dorn was in there and said, here I am inside of Unit 4. And he showed you the same pictures, including video. And here's another picture of the building after the explosion. And look at the roof they say that is on this building. But I mean, the building is completely annihilated all the way. So why did they make up that lie, and why are they continuing to perpetrate that lie? Why did all your media come out at one time and tell you that? The reason was being is because it was all hemorrhaging directly into your ocean. Now, the plume covered most of North America and all the Pacific Ocean. and the Atlantic and everywhere else. Now, scientists reveal details of unprecedented mass mortality on the west coast to begin in the summer of 2011. Millions of deaths of sea stars before the sea star wasting syndrome, which is something they made up, and they don't have any kind of virus nailed down. They don't have any pathogen nailed down. It's always a mystery virus and a mystery pathogen. And this mystery virus, mystery pathogen, as you'll see coming up here, has killed all the types of species in the ocean. Your herring is missing. Your sardines are missing. Your anchovies are missing. Your squid are missing. Your mackerel are missing. Do you have any concept of how important of a role they play in the food chain? The food chain is about a chain. It's like your anchor chain. If I take your anchor chain and every foot I take a link out of that chain and I send you out on the ocean and I don't tell you and you throw that anchor overboard, you can't repair it because the links are missing throughout the entire chain. And so you're going to wash up under the rocks and be in a whole lot of trouble, if not dead. Certainly major amounts of damage. We've done that on the Fukushima expedition for life. We've covered 160 days trips. We've done 260 days plus out of 365 days exploring the coastline, looking for the damage. We'll just touch up on that with a short 30-second video of the operation that was crowdfunded and then went out there on that ocean for 260 days. And so the scientists revealed details of unprecedented mass mortality. That's not me. Now below this video, or this headlines, is links to all those medias that are reporting on those stories. And so this site here, you see E&E News, just aggregates it in a nice spot where you can easy access to it all. And the headlines are it tells the story in many ways. But it's not their headline, that's the media's narrative from paragraphs. Multiple species wiped out in days originally. But it never stopped coming out of Japan, as you've seen earlier with all the pictures I just showed you of the melter reactor. And so a surge in whale deaths along the west coast. Now, while I was out there for the last 6 weeks doing the open ocean, the west coast itself of Canada, right from Alaska right down to Victoria, one end of Canada to the very other end of Canada. And the significance of that, trust me, if you don't know much about it, anybody would have told you I couldn't do that. And I certainly couldn't do it in a 24-foot boat by myself. But yet we went ahead and done it. We actually done 15,000 miles of coastline over the last 365 days. And that's the end of those expeditions. We're going to produce a documentary and a book. And we're going to get out there and promote that and move that out there. Now, while I was out there, normally every year there's maybe 8 whales that are found dead. Now, we don't know how many is out there that died we didn't find. But they found around 8 a year, average. So far in the last 4 months, there's 38 dead whales. 38. There was 8 dead whales while I was out there. There was 30 before I left. But how many was out there we didn't know about if we found that many. So this is really significant. Now, these whales in particular are dependent upon krill. And krill is converting the phytoplankton and those other little critters into energy. And everything else eats the krill, right? Like everything else out there, including the big whales, would eat the krill. The migratory birds and everything else are eating the krill. Well, that is missing, and we've been on the ocean looking for it and documenting it up at the nuclear proctologist. And so I'll just run over to the nuclear proctologist very quick, just for anybody that's coming by and don't know the nuclear proctologist. I just want you to realize that's my phone number up here. And tomorrow I'll be starting again uploading pictures onto the website and answering the phone and checking my emails and catching up. And hi, Corey from the Charlottes, one of the hounds, and visit me in Tofino. And so you can see the GPSs of the spots we've been to. But if you scroll down the page, there's about 200 pictures on the page, then you run into the headlines. And there's around 400 headlines for people that want time to read through things and look at things a little bit more slowly than these presentations. And that's what you need to do. So you come over to the nuclear proctologist, and every day from here on out for the next couple of months, I'll be uploading pictures onto that website from the Pacific coastline to show you the damage to the species of the coastline, to show you that the species are missing throughout the entire coastline. And as you go through, all you got to do is click on the headline and give it a second. It'll pop up, and you click left or right up to go ahead or come back. Radiation limits too high after Fukushima. Japan allows 20 times more cesium in drinking water than near Chernobyl. Japan government prepares plans to flee Tokyo. ABC News. And so children living near nuclear plants have double leukemia rates, high incidences of solid cancer, and reactors cannot prevent radiation from escaping. And so there's a plant right now. It's using 2.2 billion gallons of water a day down in the States, and it just applied for another 12 million gallons a day. Now, it recycles 35 million gallons back into the river, but it's really heated water, and a lot of the communities want them to pre-cool the water before they release it back. But out of the 2.2 billion gallons, 35 million is returned to the river. The rest is atomized and aerosol into the community with steam, but it's also mixed with the radioactivity from the fuel pools. They boil off 120,000 liters a day in your community, and they're full of cracked rods that have already gone through a chain reaction and are already 2 million times now worse than when they were put through originally. And so originally they were very dangerous materials. You had to handle them with a lot of special gear, but it was doable. Once they went through the chain reaction, you can only put them in a fuel pool and let them sit there underwater, special water, for a couple of decades, and hopefully it cools down enough you can put it in a cask, but that cask is vented all the time. And so they have nuclear holding sites all over your country. And I'll get rid of that and go back to what we're talking about. But just so you can be up to speed on that, they have nuclear spent fuel pool holding sites. These are temporary sites and these are in the tonnage, is what you're looking at behind me. And then they have all the nuclear waste stored all over the site because there's nowhere permanent to put it. That's hemorrhaging and all to your community. And because Russia might bomb you, this is what the FBI drew up, CIA drew up and said, if Russia bombs America, this is what the fallout will look like. But here's the fallout from 10 years of testing. 1952 to 1962, the fallout testing. And every one of those lines is from 2 bomb tests with the wind in the same direction. You know, some years it was over 100 nuclear tests, right? Outdoors, above ground tests. And they knew what they were doing back then. Yeah, I'll get back to the ocean for a second. Dr. Raymond Gilmedy. And you can look up some of this stuff, you'll find them and read through it yourself. Now, he done studies. This one here is later in his career, 1984. But he was at it for a long time. Now, he was doing it to beagle dogs and beagle puppies. He was giving them plutonium-239 in this study, and americium, I think it was 241. And so he done a whole bunch of long-term studies on it. He got way into detail on this, the toxicity of the plutonium dioxide in the beagle dogs. And what he found out was that this study, I can't remember, let me look at it for a second. I think it was 144 dogs, in this study. And so you got the lung in the center of it. The data for each dogs were used. The lung, skeleton, and liver received the highest doses. And so let's go to the next one. Bone tumors found in 93 dogs were the most common. Lung tumors in 46 of the dogs were the second most common. Liver tumors in 20 of the dogs. But look at the bottom sentence. These findings in dogs suggest that similar dose-related biological effects could be expected in humans accidentally exposed to 238, not to mention the 239, the 241s, the 242s, the 240, and the 230, the whole litany of... and so let me burn through some of this stuff. And so that's 76 or something. But he was doing it back in 74 on baboons. baboons. He was doing it all the way up. And so he's got 84 studies, primary bones and beagle dogs exposed by inhalation. And so hamsters, rats, and dogs. And so he showed definitively what the radioactive particles would do. Right? And so all the studies they talk about, and anybody who knows me know I play these clips from MIT, where they say all human studies are based upon a 1-minute exposure to humans. And that's was considered high-level radiation, but it wasn't anything like what these dogs are getting. It's just tiny, a millionth of nothing, and it gives them cancers and tumors. And they sacrifice, which is a polite way of saying we kill these animals and chop them up. And so they know exactly what this does, is what I'm trying to tell you, and the effects upon it. They know how transportable it is. They know how long the lifespan of it is. They know all of, it's not just Dr. Raymond Gilmedi on beagle dogs over the last 70 years doing these experiments. They've been doing it on every animal you can dream of. Every human, the impoverished, government employees that are retired, pregnant women. We know Stanford took 800 pregnant women and gave them what they call vitamin shots and vitamin drinks that were ionized, radiated isotopes like uranium, plutonium, and americium, and cesiums. And then they dug up their bodies after they died of cancers and grinded up their bones and done exams on it. It's shocking. It's a total betrayal of every academic principle and just the human experience itself. And so, to transportable in the ocean, this stuff comes over and hits your coastline, is liberated the same way salt is liberated on your coastline. And so, the ocean comes in and liberates the salt. The salt goes up to 200 miles inland. And insects up to 200 miles inland of the coastlines in North America are acclimated. They're used to more salt in their diets. But the pH of the soil further in doesn't have that excess salt. And so, an act of good faith, a sign of good faith, whatever you want to call it, from yourselves or even the community, academic community, would be to move a lot of the population as far inland as you could from the Pacific Ocean, because the Pacific Ocean is the transport. It takes 45 days for it to come across. Okay, let's go back to and get going with it. So the plutonium particles produce protracted alpha irradiations of the lungs. 10 dogs had Pacific initial pulmonary burdens, 4,100 becquerels of 239 plutonium per kilogram of body mass. And you'll see that showing up here. And they in animals, because it's bioaccumulating. Every day you got more in you. So think of it as a bank account. And today you got, your first day you get a few $1,000s showed up in your account. And you don't spend anything. But the next day there was a couple of million becquerels dollars showed up in your account. But every day for 4.5 years, 1,000, a million becquerels dollars would show up in your account. And so now all of a sudden you got all this huge, but you don't know where it's coming from. You're not complaining. But it's not, what we're talking about is not money. What we're talking about is accumulating all the time in your body. So normally, the normal potassium radiation in your body is set, and your body can't contain any more. But if it's man-made, we have no checks and balances in our body to regulate it. The homeostasis is not applicable to man-made radiation. So every time you eat something man-made, that sequesters in your organs, in your muscles, in your lungs, is the main pathways. But you can absorb it through your skin. You can absorb it just through the moisture and fog. You can absorb it getting a shower. And so let me jump into this, because we got all those studies from Dr. Raymond Gilmedi. We covered tons of it tonight to get the point across to everybody, I hope. If not, tell me and I'll come back and I'll cover more Dr. Raymond Gilmedi for you, if that's what you want. If that's what it takes for you to open your eyes and pay attention. Natural radionuclides. This is taken yesterday from Health Canada's drinking water standards. If you look that up, you'll get the same graph, the very first graph down the page. On your left-hand side, which is over here for you guys because we're on the screen, right? And everything's backwards on my end, so if I made a mistake. But anyway, you can read the words natural radionuclides. You don't need me to point. You're not a big baby. You can find it on your own. I don't need to do everything. But it's up here anyway. Let's see if I screw up. Well, there's a minute delay, so I'll probably never know. So the total uranium, now for some reason you got 0.02 milligrams. Because it doesn't even give off a becquerel. It's just a natural element. You can't find natural uranium with Geiger count. If you find anything there, that's man-made. This whole planet has been blanketed, particularly North America, and man-made. Your Geiger counter can't tell you how many becquerels of potassium-40 is in anything because it's not able to pick that up because the potassium-40 doesn't last long enough. But anyway, your drinking water in Canada is now 7,000 becquerels a litre of man-made artificial, which is from Fukushima, a tritium with a 120-year lifespan. Like if a terrorist got their hands on that and put that in your water supply, you would never be allowed to drink it. Because the nuclear industry had a major, oh shit, then they cover it up by slipping that out there and pretending that that was always there. But artificial is man-made. There is no acceptable limits. Just because the EPA or Health Canada put a limit there, does that mean it's acceptable all of a sudden? Because you'd have to be retarded or literally the most gullible person imaginable to think that that is. 0.2 becquerels of lead is not acceptable, but strontium-90 is. Right? There's like 50 times more strontium-90. There's 20 times more. And becquerels a litre, but now normally it's measured in a cubic meter when it comes to liquid. And a cubic meter is 1,000 litres. And so tritium should be 7 million becquerels in your hot tub. Do you get what I'm freaking saying to you? Do you know how much you absorb through your skin? Adding chlorine to your hot tub water is not going to help you. Going to give you cancer too. But it's not cancer so much you're worried about as the 1,800 autoimmune deficiencies associated. Heart attacks, strokes, diabetics, leukemias show up a long time later normally. But if your contaminated water wells accumulated and they bioaccumulated all day long every day. Anyway, let's keep going. We got a lot to get through and time is flying. It's already halfway through tonight. Dana, I'll get on track. You got to realize that we've done so much time on the ocean. Okay. So the Guardian, Pacific Ocean is turning into a desert off California. Pacific Ocean is turning into a desert off California. May the 17th, 2015. Entire generations of baby sea lions dying. Over 10,000 on one island in a place where there's only 50,000 breeding baby sea lions a year, 50,000. And if you find 10,000, how many didn't you find? Because you're not out there looking, are you? Is anybody out there right now that's watching this video, has they been out looking for mass mortality of sea lions? Except for Kevin Blanche. Kevin can't play in this particular part of the game. He's got to wait for 30 seconds and get back in the game because he's always out there. He's always trying. He's always looking. He's always thinking. Always paying attention. Always has been at this for years and years and years. And he doesn't ask anything for anybody. He just does it. He don't care if anybody supports him. He just goes and does it. He doesn't care. But he's trying to educate you. He's trying to help you. He's trying to rally you. And I'm not digressing because you can't. I don't think you can say enough about Kevin. I don't think you can pump Kevin out there enough that would make me happy. Anybody, me included. His link is always under my videos. And always will be, no matter what, till the end of time. He's extraordinary people. If we had 10 of him, I wouldn't have to do anything. I'll be done. So, the death of the sea lions is well documented. They're coming ashore, there's nothing on the rocks, but they're eating the rocks. Normally they come ashore, eat the rocks, poop out the rocks, and they consumed all the kelp and all, the 5,500 creatures in the tidal pool, enough nourishment to survive. But there's nothing there. It's all missing. And then all the, and baby sea lions normally would eat krill. They depend upon the krill and the herring. from their parents eating that and then passing that on to them, regurgitating it and everything else. Scientists mystified by unusual strandings of large sea creatures on the west coast. In 3 weeks, 5 dead whales have now beached. So what's the odds of 2 whales in one place dying of natural causes at the same time? You got better chances of me getting hit by a Soviet satellite in the next 3 seconds. 2, 1. No, I'm still here. But you know what I mean, right? I like to goof around too, by the way. Massive die-off of oysters and scallops. Now, the underwater footage we done at the coastline. Oh, and I did get all the pictures up on the computer today. I'll just digress and bump over there here in a second. Let's bump over and just give you a quick lowdown on what I'll be uploading. Yeah, I got a stupid amount of pictures. Somebody needs to talk some bloody sense in the meantime and not to take so many friggin' pictures. And it's on the data. So these are all the pictures, 210 gigabytes. Dana. And everybody's seen the whales smashing their tail video on my site there. If not, here's a little intro of that one. This is really high quality. And I'll stabilize in a second. That was a couple of weeks ago. Outside of Gold River on the Brooks Peninsula. And I had to make 3 different runs, 3 different days at the Brook Peninsula to get around it in the Zodiac. And this guy I was about 3 miles away from the outside entrance when I seen him doing this. And I wasn't sure what was going on. And so they do this when they're distressed. They do this also sometimes when they're hunting. But once again, remember all the headlines I'm reading you. And remember all the hearing, the sardines, the krill, the anchovies, the squid, the mackerels are all missing. And there was another whale there when this was going on, about the same size, 45 to 50 feet. And he's a big, or she, they're big whales, mister. But anyway, we got all of that to put up. And so there's a stupid amount there. Done this island. That's just one set here. Connell Island. So I'm right out in that little tiny group. Right on the west coast of Canada. Out in those little islands. And that's the path I took going out there. I came out between the islands to avoid the groundswell. So I snuck out between the rocks. And then I hid in that behind that island group. So I snuck out. You can see how I snuck out. This is also where I seen the birds too. The only group of birds I've seen on the whole expedition. And right away you can see what the shoreline is going to look like. Literally nothing left on the coastline. This is just a couple of miles from the Canadian border. Here's a little, that's a little speedboat I found washed up. That's welded aluminum, by the way. Welded aluminum, that's brand new. That's probably worth $6,000 or $7,000 at least. But I would lose my life trying to tow that down the coastline. I was going to salvage it. I did put a line on it. I was going to wait till high tide and take it out of there. I'm just trying to find pictures of the low tide for you, and there they are. But I decided against it because trying to tow a boat like that, a big welded aluminum boat like that down the coastline, and if I put motors on that, and we got into bad weather, I would try to keep that, right? And by doing that, I could risk my life in the whole operation and all that data. And so I decided not to do it based upon the fact that I'm not there to do stuff like that. I'm there to get a job done. And I better start focusing on what the priorities are. But finding a brand new welded aluminum boat is hard to resist, trust me. You know, because it's easy to turn that over. It's just something that it's not scrap, right? And it's so hard to walk away and leave something like that behind. But I had no problem at all. I toyed with the idea that I could tow it. And then I said to myself, yeah, if I put a motor on it, I get in bad weather. I can't leave it behind because I got a motor on it. I'm going to do something stupid. And I might end up risking everything by doing that. And so the better thing is just get out there and do what I'm supposed to do, is get the pictures, get the data, record, observe, and report, as Corey up in the Charlottes will say. Hey, buddy. And so look at these rocks here. You can see right there a couple of starfish. I'll get some better pictures coming up here. Maybe this one. Now you got to realize I'm on a boat. You got to realize the boat doesn't stop moving. You got to realize that the tide is blowing you, moving you around at the same time. You got to realize that I'm on a limit. I only got that low tide to get those pictures. You got to realize that there's all kinds of unpredictable factors at all times, every time. But every picture, I took my time and then I clicked. So this particular time, I suspect most of my pictures are going to be really clean pictures. Now, if I'm far away, all you can do is zoom in anyway. And their pictures are for context and because I'm warming up. And usually I'm only shooting about 600 pictures a day. I'm not shooting 2,000 pictures a day. It's just too much work. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that kind of material. And so in 6 weeks, we got almost 20,000 pictures, 19,456. And so a lot of that is videos. A lot of that is underwater videos. And so there's nothing on the rocks. And now that kelp, all the kelp. Let me scroll down and see if I can find one very quick of the kelp. And we'll come back to those headlines and start wrapping it up for tonight. And so there's a starfish. And hang on. So these starfish are the only starfish we find on the coastline anyway. Most of it got none. This starfish in particular, now I couldn't figure this out. I was like, what's going on here? And so I picked him up and took him aboard the boat to have a closer look at him. But it's a little tricky. But anyway, I got him aboard the little Zodiac. And you can see he's only got 2 legs. Right? And so you can see, and it's melting even then, right? Even though he's only got 2 legs left, he's still melting. But that was startling. That was one of the first bunch of starfish we found. It stood out like a sore thumb. And look at that twist on the end of it. It's kind of like a twist. And so I didn't do anything to that starfish. It was already hanging off the rock. All I had to do was pick it. Pick it. Pick it. Just kidding, yeah. And so, let me get at that because I don't know what I got there. Once again, and this is what these, I'll be uploading these particular pictures tomorrow morning. And all day tomorrow. And you can see way up there, there's a purple starfish. Yeah? Or way in there. But you can see there's nothing else on it. There's not, the 600 algae are not there. The 78 species of sea urchins are not there. The 600 kelps, the 480 species of worms, I never found any. The 70 species of sponges, I only found the same couple. The whelks, the periwinkles, the snails, the mollusks. I don't see any patches of kelps. The oysters, the scallops, the abalones, the clams, the little necks, the manillas, the invertebrates, the 6,500 invertebrates without the backbones. There's no foundation there for them. And so the coastline has been wiped out. I'm going to go back and start covering the transport because I was supposed to cover that first, but you know me, I get all excited and I kind of jump around. But as long as I cover it all half lethargic, then it's doable, right? It's Sunday night. Don't expect me to be the big puddle of, hey, missing sky and gray area 13. I'm your author, Stacy Lane, 74, Candace, Kate, and so everybody there that I didn't say hi to earlier. Hi, sweetie, Kate, and you'll find Kate's link below. No Andy, no, holy crap, eh? And Chuck, and some people managed to show up and say hi. Toxic, we destroy what you save. Just a few minutes. I'm not digressing. I'm just saying hi. Jimmy Joe, Stuart, Celeste Holmes. Sure it isn't tsunami debris? I'm sure. I was on the beaches all day, every day. I didn't find any tsunami debris anywhere. It's just not there. They got every community is cleaning up tsunami debris as it shows up. And I've been told that in all kinds of restaurants and little shops along the coastline. They come in, they buy all the garbage bags, and they go out there and they clean it all up. Everything they can find out there that might have come from Japan is cleaned up right away. But they can't come up with enough money for Geiger counters for community, but hundreds of thousands for individuals to go clean up the tsunami debris. But I mean, there's nothing on the coastline. You'll notice my pictures. There's nothing on the shoreline. There's nothing there. There's no debris from anything. Not even from us. It's really hard to find anything, which is a really good point. So let's go back to what I was up to earlier, because I actually got a really good memory, and I'll pick up. Senior TEPCO employee nobody knows what to do at Fukushima. It's impossible to fix. We don't need them to tell them. I couldn't trust a TEPCO employee if you waterboarded him 1,000 times. And he gave you the same answer every time. I still couldn't trust him. Little creepy little Japanese. They give all Japanese a bad name. They're embarrassment to their parents, their friends, their families, their loved ones. And the proper thing to do is for them to all go out and commit suicide. They really need to do that. That's the only way they can restore honor to their loved ones and their friends and their families. Is they should go kill themselves. All of them. Nobody wants them. Nobody loves them. They are hopeless. I mean, they could have told us the top of the reactors look like that, but look at the buildings above me. The despicable, disgusting, parasitic vultures upon our society. And I don't need to... I'm only telling you 500 more times. Experts agree many species of wildlife and fisheries are endangered globally due to large releases of radioactivity into the ocean. As Fukushima's radiation entered New Zealand's ecosystem, how could it not? Right? How could it not get into your environment? How could it not get into your drinking water? How could it not get into your food? How could it not get into your food supply? How could it not get into your homes? How could it not get into your automobiles? How could it not get into your playgrounds? How could it not get into every aspect of your life when it's non-stop, endless, constant releases? A chain reaction like Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. Fukushima didn't. Fukushima's eating everything, all the rocks and cement and rebar that fall down on top of it. Remember, this was a 9-point-something earthquake. Remember, tsunami took out 100 miles, 500 miles infrastructure. All the lights, all the power, all the poles, all the roads. These things need 1 million gallons a minute to keep cool. Once they got like an hour of no water going in there, it's game over. Everything starts to melt down. It's missing 60 million gallons of cooling water already. It's already melting down. They're always toying with it. They never crank these things up because it would melt down. They run them at around 1,600 Fahrenheit temperatures, but they can only contain around 2,000. So at best, if they crank it up to 1,600, they can have a meltdown, and they can't contain it. It takes too long to cool down. It can get out of control and be a China syndrome, right? So it's not a joke. It's not a game. It's not pretend. It's not maybe. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. It was equal to 400 Hiroshima bombs. Japan reactors are 3 times the size. Japan reactors are mixed oxide fuel. Japan's reactors all had 1,000 plus kilograms minimum, and up to Unit 3 was loaded with plutonium. This is where they reclaim plutonium and uranium from missile silos, from nuclear bombs. It's disgusting. It's a genocide against this entire, and an ecocide against the entire planet. This is the releases are allowed to happen. They were stopped from happening by the Queen, by BP, but British Petroleum was calling all the shots. They were the ones that made it worse. BP, got $17 trillion. The Queen does in uranium and stocks. They own uranium mines outright. Right? Her nephew, her grandson, Prince Harry, he's the gunner in a helicopter, and all he shoots is dirty bombs. Uranium-238 left over from the production of nuclear weapons. They're supposed to be on a nuclear waste till the end of time, but they don't know what to do with it, so they come out and lie to you and tell you that, oh no, it's okay, because it's in everybody's community, like the maps I was showing you earlier, right? Right, remember that stuff there? Tons and tons everywhere you look. That's why they lie to you so much, because they don't know what to do with it. And so they got to tell you like a banana and a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. And like Ken Buesler earlier said, don't get the kelp in the water. No, because kelp aggregates the radioactive materials from Fukushima. All the kelp on the entire coastline of Canada is either missing or so dead, so destroyed, and so ragged, so full of holes and disease that it can't sustain any life. All of it. All the sea urchins are missing all the way up the inside of Canada channels. And also Tofino's natives told me they can't find any sea urchins there. And asked me, did I think it had anything to do with Fukushima? I said, yeah. Growing likelihood that Fukushima reactors will be entombed. You can't entomb it because the chain reaction didn't stop. That's why they can't. That's why they entombed Chernobyl, was because the chain reaction stopped after 10 days. That's why 3 Mile Island was doable. It's because the chain reaction stopped after 5 days. That's why they don't have one over Fukushima. It's because the chain reaction didn't stop. And the gases are so volatile, if they gather up, they'll detonate. That's why they call them noble gases. You treat them with nobility, or they'll wreck everything around you for miles. Unprecedented. It's flowing into the Pacific Ocean, continually adding to the plume. It's a plume today, plume tomorrow, plume next day, plume day after, plume day after. It's doing that for 4.5 years. It's relentless. It's relentless. Every time it rains in Japan, it's washing that massive, highly contaminated, highly charged atoms that could have dozens of isotopes in it from these maniacal fuels back into the ocean. At night time, they're burning it in the incinerators. It goes directly into the air, into the ocean. The jet streams are real. The ocean currents are real. That gets whisked right away from Japan no matter how it leaves, and it leaves all day. 1,440 minutes a day. It's hemorrhaging. It's not bleeding. It's not leaking. It's not little release here and they found another little leak there. It's hemorrhaging non-stop. The rods blew all over the site. They plowed it on her to get back on the site. That sunk down. They're spraying water on the whole site all the time to cool that stuff down because it's supposed to be underwater for a decade. Get all excited here. Get all excited. Vancouver Sun. Scientists concerned the dolphin species. I only seen maybe 14 dolphin in 15,000 miles to be negatively impacted by the Fukushima nuclear, endless, constant, forever, perpetual breeder reactors that we got down there now. These things are breeder reactors that are producing more than you put there. They'll produce it endlessly. They split the atom. Hello? E equals mc squared. And any of these atoms from a chain reaction will mutate a fruit fly. But none of them from bananas or potato chips will mutate the fruit fly. It'll cause them to go out and procreate and have more little baby flies, but it won't cause the flies to mutate. Like Fukushima will, like that radiation. Anything out of Fukushima, your body attacks it with white blood cells for 20 years and builds a sarcophagus around it. We call it a tumor. Huh? Yeah. Extreme toxic water, 4 million times the government's limit, and they keep raising the limit. And you can't believe anything comes out of their mouth anyway. It's probably 1 million times higher than what they're telling you. Source of contamination for the Pacific. Levels too high for them to get more precise looks. Now they're running out of homeless and destitute and impoverished. Because you won't see Harvard or Yale or Berkeley or Stanford or MIT or Oxford or any of the big bootlicking, cheerleading lapdogs for the military industrial machine show up down there with their pipe and say, "Boy golly, I think they probably got a little problem." With their pipe in their mouth. No. Plutonium leaked after the fuel rod because plutonium's parent is gas, right? So plutonium will turn to gas. And the gas, a gram of it is more atoms than every grain of sand on all the beaches on this planet. Took all the grains of sand and all the beaches on the planet and painted them a bright color and released them and let them float around in the air, you couldn't see each other. You wouldn't see the screen in front of you today. So what the frig is 5 million pounds divided up by grams going to do to our air columns? This stuff is uniformly mixed throughout the air column, particularly in North America. We are being exterminated, and we're not being told to get out of the way or how to defend ourselves, or we're not even being monitored. And the people we pay, the system we have there in place to do all of that, turned its back on us. Right? We got them their pensions, we got them their jobs, the trucks, we gave them all the authority and the monetary and the ability to go do a job, and they fucking stabbed us to death. Excuse the language. I mean, but they done it to their own all the time, right? They made all these guys sit there in front of the bomb. Yeah, they're sitting there in front of the bomb. In front of the bomb, sucking it up. Now get up and march over there, dummies. And in 30 years, when you're dying of cancer, don't come whining to us. Because you're signing your life away when you join the military. You can't join the military when you can't quit something. Oh, Danny, you can quit. It only takes 4 or 5 years of filling out paperwork and being sent up to the front line if you're active duty, or being shot and then written off as an accident. Geez, they rape 29,000 of their own every year. How many think they're raping in the countries they occupy if they rape their own that much that we know about? 22 veterans committing suicide every day. Don't get me started. To get 10,000 Taliban. 80,000 dead from suicide to get 10,000 Taliban. 290,000 rapes in the military themselves to get 10,000 Taliban. Bad guys. Millions dead, millions missing, millions in refugee camps to get 10,000 people. And you don't think that there's something wrong there? You support the troops? Yeah, I support the friggin' troops. I don't care if they rape 290,000 of their own. They'll go over there and rape a couple of million of them. I don't care about them. As long as they get my gas for $1 a litre, I don't care. I gotta go watch football. Leave me alone. But that's the mentality. Look, so it's coming out of that ocean. This prediction is over 6 years because they like to lie to you. The ocean current, the Kuroshio current, travels at over 5 miles an hour. 9 kilometers an hour. Right across, and warms up the coastline of Canada and America, maintains the temperature all year long from the warm waters from Japan. Huh? And it takes 45 days, not the 6 years like this projection. And every day behind it was another plume. Not to mention what fell out of the sky went back into the ocean. Not to mention what's liberated from the ocean all day long. Tens of thousands of miles of rain and washing back down onto your communities. And that the industry had already captured your government, already captured your media, already captured your academic community, where you have 3 peer-reviewed academic studies published every minute, over 4 million a year, over 3,400 a day studied publishes from your university, and the copyright is given away to 3 big publishers, Elsevier, Springer, and Wiley. And it's okay, Dana, we paid for it, let them have it. We don't want to read it anyway. Let's put it behind a paywall where we don't even know it exists. How are we ever going to have a future? How are we ever going to have any kind of hope when we lock up all our precious resources so that only the most evil of our society, the 6,000 evilest people out there basically, can take it and use it against us and just wreck everybody's future, wreck all the creatures, wreck all of humanity, wreck all of our hopes, all of our dreams permanently, so they can have a job and so they can exterminate us. Look, people worship the Bible, but don't think for a second that there's not people out there worshiping the devil. And don't think for a second that they're not in your community, or they're not some of your leaders, or all of your leaders. And don't think that they don't know what they're doing. Don't think for a second that the other side has more power than the other side. One side goes and prays, the other one gets into politics and runs the show. They're not the religious sector. They don't have anybody's best intentions in mind. They want to kill everything and everybody on the planet. They worship the devil. And this is not Maybe. Look what they're doing at Churn. Right? They got the most evilest dance down there of the devil. Once again, think about what Dr. Raymond Gilmeddy's studies showed. Yeah? On animals. Don't think about fruit flies. Think about Raymond Gilmeddy killing big old dogs and big old puppies at Loveless Respiratory Research Institute for over 35 years, every day, all day. Just one of thousands of research institutes killing animals and mammals in pursuit of the perfect concoction of isotopes. They know every time it's going to kill the animal. They don't even try to solve it. They just study how to kill the animal. They're not trying to solve it. They're not going to come up with any cures. Only for the elites. Think about the ocean currents are real. The jet streams are real. Think about, and I'll just zip over and get a couple more headlines for everybody that I already got ready to go. Recent headlines from there. Once again, the nuclearproctologist.org, as you get down to the bottom of the page, there's 400 headlines. So there's the pictures of the coastline and what's left of it, of whatever area that one was. But if you scroll over and you start going through E&E News headlines, recent headlines, as soon as you scroll down the page, mutation found in sea life along the U.S. West Coast deformed spines, brains, hearts, eyes reported by official, brain lobes, hunchbacks, parts of face missing, unusual limbs, like that starfish I was showing you earlier. U.S. West Coast being continuously exposed to Fukushima radioactive releases, because that doesn't stop down there. Because they don't even talk about it. Because they tell you it's like a banana. That is like potato chips. That is like walking in sunshine. That is like getting on an airplane. That is like a dental x-ray. And these things are nothing like E equals MC squared. If you ingest the atom, you're getting an x-ray every moment of your life. But a single atom is hundreds of thousands of times worse than any banana, potato chips, or walking in sunshine, because they only emit for 1/10,000th of a second. These emit up to feet, and they do it every second for infinity. So man-made versus the natural stuff is how they divided us. That's how they confused us. That's how they manipulated and deceived everybody, and that's how they created all the conflicts and the room for the thousands of nuclear PR firms to come out and muddle that water. With anybody that says it's like a banana or a potato chip or walking in sunshine and has an education like Ken Buechler, who does it all the time, or getting on an airplane, these are the most worst. I don't want to start swearing, but they're the most greediest, mentally ill people imaginable. They know what they're doing. They know people are going to give them $600 for a water sample. Don't get any kelp in it though, right, Ken? Don't get any kelp in it. No, because you have 40 million becquerels in a kilogram of kelp off California. You don't want any of your labs accidentally finding that and then accidentally leaking that out that they found it again. But I mean, this is extraordinary that they're not testing the actual marine chemists. Marine chemists. They're not testing seafood. They're not testing the microorganisms. They're not testing the phytoplankton or the krill or the kelps or the algae, because there's frig all left anyway. No, they're out saying they're testing water, and they never find any. And if they do, it's 1,000 times less than what's natural. Of course it is! All you need is one atom. If there's one atom there, it's a problem. If there's one atom there, somebody might ingest it or absorb it, or it might end up in the food chain of some animal and we eat that. If you got a fish with a single atom in it and you eat that fish, one of you ate the atom. One of you are going to have an autoimmune deficiency, and it could be Alzheimer's, dementia, and diabetes, and heart attacks. Not to mention the cancers. But like Yahoo News, giant mutant fish. Now I seen one up in the Charlottes, had to be 9 to 12 foot wolf eel underwater, and I was trying to get the camera, and when I finally got the camera underwater, he was gone. But he was bigger than that guy. Alarming bleak situation. Hundreds of millions of sea stars estimated dead. No, they're all dead. Now, the scientists are saying it's only affecting 18 species. All the species are missing on the entire coastline. And the 5 species that are left, are the numbers, you can put them all, everything I saw in the back of a pickup truck, in 15,000 miles and 260 days. Every starfish, you could easily fit it in the back of my pickup truck. Every friggin' one of them. There's nothing left on the coastline. There's only 2 or 3 species that are showing up regularly, and they're all melting. And my pictures, my documentations are pictures, I should say, and I do normally, because I always think in context of Dana and the hounds of Fukushima, whether you're a hound or not. If you're there and you know what's going on, you're paying attention. You know, you are a hound of Fukushima. You don't have to be the hound's den to be a hound of Fukushima. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I push that site out there all the time, Kate's site, because it's a great site full of wonderful people. And you're always going to get a few people infiltrated from the industry, and there's nothing you can do about it. But there's so many good people there, and there's so much good souls and good heart and good intentions and solid information and people that are rallying and trying and accomplishing things because it has to get done and it has to start somewhere. It's a very endearing thing, trust me. And it's not my site. I don't have no control over whatsoever. I might be able to influence Kate if I tried and, like get her to put notices up that I'm here or there. And she always, willingly and gladly helps me out because that's what it's all about. We help each other out. That's why I've always shoved her out regardless of any... I mean, we had 25,000 supporting documentations before we launched the Fukushima Expedition for Life, not counting everything else, There's links below my video right now to millions of emails. There's links below my video right now to thousands of pictures at TEPCO's website. You can make up your own mind. There's links, and what I'm showing you right here in front of you are all the headlines. You can go look these up and read through them. The headlines on my site, the headlines, the graphs, the charts, the maps, everything we're showing you, the smorgasbord of data that we bring to you. These are all academic studies. These are all from other countries. These are all meant to help you. And these are all meant to give everybody an opportunity to know better. And these are meant to show you that the people that do know better and tell you lies are many. And the people that tell you the facts as they are. And, trust me, this is not a good job what I got. It's a job in every sense of that word. It's a calling in every sense of that word. It's a mission in every sense of that word. It has to be done by somebody that is incapable of being compromised. And so, I might make a mistake, but if I find out it's a mistake, I correct it. And then I tell everybody I was making a mistake on this, look. And so let's say disregard that, and here's actually what's going on. And my apologies for not doing due diligence. And I have done that many times when I have making a mistake and not necessarily was told it was a mistake, had discovered on my own sometimes it was a mistake and had to rectify that and make sure I never made that mistake again. And that is what makes me stronger. That is what makes us all stronger. And is that ability to see past our mistakes and learn off our mistakes. And if you can't learn off your mistakes, you can't be honest, right? If you can't be humble and all you have is hubris, then you're left with this empty thing that doesn't work. And what I do, now over time, now I'll build up this site back up to the live stream as much as I can. But you got to realize I just come off the ocean. I just got the boat unpacked. I don't stop. Just to put all the stuff into the video for the video presentation takes hours. To dig up the data, the information, and line it all up. And I do it gladly. I do it willingly. And I do it with enthusiasm. But I'm worn out from 260 days to 365 days on the ocean. And so bear with me over the next couple of weeks as I get my steam back up, my energy back up. And try to reorganize my life, get my life back. And that's coming together. But I'm definitely sleeping all day, every day. And every night I'm ready to go to bed the minute I stop doing this or at this time. I'm just worn out. But I'm so happy that we accomplished what we accomplished and that we have so much data, so much information, and that we completed the mission. We have the whole coastline, bar nothing, and that the documentary and the book and the presentations from here on out are there's so much behind that. So many people and so much, and never have so few gave so much for so little. But in the long term, there'll be millions of us out there that are articulating with solid narratives to beat down the ninnies and the and the PR firms. There's thousands of PR firms working for the nuclear industry outside of media. All media are PR firms. But we're winning this battle. There's no doubt about it. The nuclear industry is now and will be forever an abomination upon everything in this universe. It's an absolute embarrassment to the human species and once again to the entire ecosystem. It's a genocide. And I've covered why it's a genocide many, many times. I need to do a whole video on why nuclear is actually a genocide. But the Pacific Ocean is radiated. Even if you stop the reactors right now, you can't save the Pacific Ocean. There will be no whales by 2018, or porpoises, or seals, or sea lions. And because they are cannibalizing each other as we speak. Because all the bases of the food chain has already been taken out. The bases of the carbon sequestering chains have already been taken out. The bases of the oxygen production chain has already been taken out. And the damage, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. But we have to try and stop the reactors to mitigate the future. We have to try and find a way forward. And we have to learn that we have to change things about our lives, our diets, and the way we live our daily lives. And that's just the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it because a few thousand nuclear people, in particular, have lied and manipulated and deceived us into a position where there is no salvation outside of dealing with it. And it's better for us to deal with it in a normal, open debate, talking about it, coming up with solutions, than it is to go out and hang them all. I don't really care which one we do, but we got to do one of them really soon. So good night to everybody. Good night to Toxic, Stewart, Standing Foot, Missing Sky, Stacy Lane, Ricky Chase, Fix It, Chuck, Shanigan, and I'm your author. Good night, everybody. It's 9:06, hour and 6 minutes. Went 6 minutes longer than I was expecting. I just realized it, so I shut it all down. Miss Milky, we have to push back with the elected representatives and organize collectively. Together, united we stand, divided we all hang separately. Is another way of saying what Miss Milky said. And so good night to everybody. And we destroy what you save. Michael Hand. Yeah, night everybody. Gray Area 13. Cotton Top Mickey. I hope you're feeling well, buddy. It's gonna midday. It's gonna take us a while, Albert. It's gonna take us a while to get up to speed, but I'm trying. And I'm trying to be more conscious of everybody. I'm trying to be more considerate of the people that have a hard time listening to me curse and swear. And I don't really want to do that anymore. That time is long gone, right? The time right now is to have a conversation. The time right now is to do the right moral. Hi, Sylvia, ethical thing. I'm your author, Mr. Arenas, Mr. Grimm, Stacy, Veronica, him from Mexico. And it looks like we got it all. United we stand. That's right, Stacy. Toxic. Good night, everybody. Most likely I'll be 5 nights this week coming. I don't know how, but I'm intending to go at least 5 nights every week minimum, if not 7 nights. So tomorrow I'll be uploading pictures all day and getting ready for tomorrow night's show at 8 p.m. Pacific Canada time, British Columbia time, is the typical night time show. It's at that time. And you can watch it any time in the next couple of days too, right? If you can't make it live. But it's always fun to do the live stream. You never know. Hugs for everybody. Take care, folks. Good night. Dana loves all of you. Don't forget that. I absolutely love you to pieces for what we done. At least we done something, see? And tomorrow I'll start uploading all of that. Hugs, everybody.